Hey there guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna Sophia if you're new here, and if you are new, please consider subscribing. My husband and I are a military family who recently bought a house and moved from Scottsdale, Arizona to Washington, D.C. Come along with us as we decorate, organize, DIY, and deep clean this new house on a budget in the series From House to Home. In this video, we are going to redo my patio. There are going to be some pieces that come out. We're going to add some new pieces in and several DIYs along the way. We needed to take out that dining room table because it actually broke during the move, and we're going to upcycle these plastic lounge chairs. These are just your typical white lounge chairs that you find at Lowe's or Home Depot. They're about 50 bucks a piece, and we're just going to upcycle them a little bit, but first I need to just clean them off, get those little stickers off, and just make sure that I have a clean surface before I use the spray paint. The spray paint that I'm using is this dark taupe satin finish, spray paint by Rust-Oleum, and I ended up needing 3 cans for both chairs. You could really use whatever color you wanted, but I just wanted this color to kind of match the rest of my patio furniture. Definitely gonna want to do 2 coats on these. The 1 coat, as you can see here, just didn't really give that full coverage that you want, so definitely do 2 coats. And this is how the chairs turned out. I think that they're gonna do a much better job of hiding dirt and scuff marks and things like that in this color. And I think they just look a little bit more expensive than just the white plasticky chair.
Alright everyone, so for the next DIY, we're going to be creating a raised planter box. As you can see, our first attempt at this garden was pretty unsuccessful and basically just turned into a big swamp, so instead of trying to salvage this, I just decided to make a raised bed off of the ground. This is basically everything that I use for this DIY, but I'll make sure that I put everything in the description below so that way you guys know exactly what you need. Step 1 for this project was to get the 4 legs of this planter box made. I wanted the legs of this planter box to be 3 feet high, so I ended up buying 2 6-foot 4x4 posts. Once I had my measurements marked, I went ahead and took my circular saw and made my cuts on each side of the post. One thing I will say about this project is the only power tool you really need is a drill. If you don't have a power saw, you can definitely get by with a hand saw. It'll just take some more time and effort. Now that I have the legs done, I can start working on the sides that make up the actual box of the planter. This planter box is going to be 6 feet long by 2.5 feet wide, so to keep things easy, I got about 8 1x6 boards that were 6 feet long already. That way for some of the sides, I didn't have to make any cuts at all. For the sides that made up the width of the box, I just measured out my 2.5 feet and made my cuts. The next step was to attach the side of the box to the legs. Using clamps throughout this project allowed me to work by myself and let Anna continue to work on other DIYs, but if you don't have any clamps, don't worry, you can still get the job done without them. Another tool I used throughout this project was this speed square, which helped me keep everything at a 90-degree angle as I went, so that way when I flipped the box over at the end, everything was nice and level. I highly recommend using a drill bit slightly smaller than the size of your screw, so that way when you're drilling your screws in, you don't splinter your wood. Now that I had 2 legs with sides attached to them, I had to line up both of these pieces so that way I could attach the final 2 legs. Now that half of the sides are in place, this is how everything should look so far. The next step was to add our second layer of boards around our sides. This step was pretty easy because all I had to do was line up the top board with the bottom board and then clamp it together and screw them in. One of the final steps of this project was to put the bottom of the planter together. I ended up using the same 1x6 boards that I used to build the sides of the planter to build the bottom. To make sure I had enough support at the ends of my planter box, I cut out the corners of the 2 end boards that I attached here, just to make sure that there weren't any large gaps all the way at the end. I thought that I had bought enough 1x6 boards to finish the bottom, but of course I didn't, so I ended up using some spare wood that I found in my garage to fill in the gaps. Alright, now that the woodworking aspect of this project is complete, all we have to do is flip this thing over and attach some landscaping fabric to hold our soil in. For the last step, I just attached the landscaping fabric to the wood using my staple gun, ensuring that there weren't any gaps so that the soil wouldn't fall through. Alright guys, here is the finished product. All I did was put my soil in and my plants that I salvaged from my swamp of a garden, and this was it. I have very little to none woodworking experience, so if I can do this, I know you guys can do it too.
Next up for the DIYs, we are going to paint these cinder blocks I actually found buried in my backyard. I have no idea how long these have been here. I know the previous owners lived here for 42 years and these have been here as long as we've been here, so I'm going to take these out, as well as these wooden blocks, I guess you could call them, that I found as well, and we're gonna make a little tiered table situation in the corner. After I dug all of these items out from my backyard, I just needed to power wash them because there was a lot of dirt and grime on them, and this is how they looked after they've been power washed. And now it's just time for some spray paint on the cinder blocks. The spray paint that I'm going to use for this is by Rust-Oleum. It's a flat black primer paint actually, and it's indoor and outdoor use. Now that we're all cleaned off, I'm just going to give it a nice once over with the paint inside, getting all the little corners, and I think they turned out really cool. They almost remind me of like lava rock or something like that, and I feel like they just completely transformed the cinder block. Inside of the holes of the cinder block, I'm just placing these little tea light candles inside, and I think it looks really beautiful, really simple. Anybody could do this, and I think it completes this look. Next up, we are just going to make some gold accessories for the outside. I feel like the easiest way to unify kind of random items you might have in your house, such as this cake stand or these little cans, the strainer that took a hit in my dishwasher, is to use one color of spray paint. That way everything looks like it went together already, but really nothing went together. It's just random things you had lying around your house. For this gold spray paint, I'm using 1 by Krylon, but it's a metallic brass spray paint, and then I went over it with a Rust-Oleum gold metallic spray paint because I think the brass was just a little too gold for my liking. I will link every single spray paint that I used, that I bought off Amazon, in the description below. And now everything looks like it goes together. It feels much more cohesive to tie this back patio together. I think one tip that I've learned along the way is if nothing is kind of going together, like the furniture that we bought does not actually go together, you want to find one thing that is the same throughout the room. So in this case, I wanted that thing to be these gold accent pieces. And to keep up with the cohesive momentum, we are going to make these DIY quilt pillows to make everything seem very cohesive. This quilt has been given to me by my mother, and I asked her if it was okay, and she said it was completely fine. And nobody uses this quilt right now as it is, so we're gonna make some beautiful pillows out of it. For inside the cushions, I'm gonna use this plastic wrapped foam. I thought these would be really good to put inside the pillow, especially for outdoor furniture, just so it doesn't get really weird inside the pillow. My sewing machine just wasn't really taking this fabric well just because it was so thick. So we are just gonna cut it and then hot glue all 4 sides, and that is it. And these were how they turned out. I think they look really cool because they kind of tie everything together when nothing really went together, but it almost feels purposeful at this point. So I really love them, and I think that they look really great and cohesive. And this is how our patio turned out. I absolutely love the results. Since we've done this makeover, we've gone outside so much more. We hang out there all the time. And I think especially now more than ever, when I don't know what the future holds, I need to get out and get some fresh air. And now I have a place to do it in that I love. And that is it for today's video. I hope this gave you guys some inspiration to use some stuff that you might find in your backyard or around your house in general. If you liked this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button because I post DIY content every Sunday. Okay, I'll see you guys next Sunday. Bye.